was a place of quiet history, smelling of cedar and old sea salt. It was here, tucked beneath a stack of Taijuan's vintage academic journals, that Molly discovered the quilt of radiant ties. It wasn't like any blanket she had ever seen. Its patches were made of shimmering silk, rough-hewn burlap and delicate lace, all held together by threads that pulsed with a soft, iridescent light. "It's a heart map," Molly whispered, her contained wonder peaking as she ran a finger over a patch of burnt orange velvet that reminded her of Taijuan's favorite waistcoat. But as she pulled it from the trunk, a loose thread, a glowing golden fiber, caught on a splinter. With a sharp snap, the quilt began to unspool. The threads didn't just fall, they dissolved into light, and the patches drifted into the air like falling leaves. As each patch hit the floor, it expanded into a swirling, translucent portal. The attic was suddenly crowded with memories. The portals of the past. Downstairs, the rest of the family felt the magical shift. Taijuan and Chandler were the first to reach the attic. Taijuan, dressed in his camel hair overcoat, anchored the doorway with his rooted calmness, while Chandler's elemental patience allowed him to navigate the swirling vortexes of light without panic. "Molly, don't move," Olivia called out, her practical intuition, immediately sensing that the portals were unstable. She moved with a sprinter's readiness, guiding the younger children away from the edges of a portal that showed a snowy day from years ago. Jamal stood frozen, his artistic harmony overwhelmed by the sheer visual truth of the memories. One portal, framed in teal and indigo, showed him as a toddler, his hands covered in paint, laughing as a younger Chandler chased him through the garden. "It's beautiful," Jamal murmured, his green-tipped hair glowing in the reflection of the light. The unraveling. As more threads snapped, the cottage began to lose its physical weight. The walls grew translucent. Owen, pulling his plant field guide from his utility trousers, realized the danger. "The quilt isn't just a souvenir," he shouted over the hum of the magic. "It's a literal weave of our emotional history. If it completely unravels, our connection to this house, and maybe each other, becomes untethered." His actionable intelligence went into overdrive. "We can't just sew it back with regular thread. We have to step into the memories and reaffirm them." The walk through memory. Leo, the strategic wildness in full effect, was the first to jump. He dove into a portal that showed the day he had gotten his first lucky knee patch. Inside the memory, he had to find the moment of pure family pride that had created the patch. When he hugged the memory version of Taijuan, the patch on the floor turned back into a piece of fabric and flew into Molly's hands. One by one, they followed. Olivia stepped into a memory of a difficult training day where she had almost given up. She felt the empathetic leadership of her brothers cheering her on. The burlap patch was restored. Owen faced a memory of his own self-doubt. He saw himself at 10, crying over a broken telescope, and watched as Chandler sat with him in elemental patience until the stars came out. The blue linen patch was restored. Willow, sensing the emotional truth with her resonant innocence, didn't jump into a portal. Instead, she sat in the center of the room and began her low, melodic hum. Her skin let off a steady glow that acted as a magnet, pulling the loose threads back toward the center. The final stitch, the last patch, was the most difficult. It was a small, mocha-toned square of soft cotton the day Willow was born. It was the center of the quilt. Taijuan and Chandler stepped into this portal together. They saw themselves younger and exhausted, looking down at the tiny bundle in the cottage. They felt the vulnerable trust they had built over nearly 2 decades. Taijuan reached out, his hand glowing with his sun-like energy, and grasped the final golden thread. With a blinding flash, the portals collapsed. The family found themselves back in the cedar-scented attic, huddled together on the floor. In the center of the circle sat Molly, clutching the fully restored quilt of radiant ties. The threads were no longer just glowing. They were fused, stronger and more vibrant than they had ever been. The new weave, the psychological impact was profound. They hadn't just watched their history, they had felt the weight of the love that had sustained them through every struggle. Taijuan stood up, adjusting his silk scarf, his rooted calmness now infused with a deeper sense of gratitude. "The quilt is a record," he said softly, "but we are the weavers." Chandler nodded, his 6 feet 10 inches frame relaxing. He looked at his children, Jamal with his artistic purpose, Olivia with her quiet poise, Owen with his brilliant mind, and the younger 4 with their vibrant spirits. The static of the household had vanished, replaced by a resonant, peaceful frequency. Molly stood up, her light-up sneakers flickering once before she tucked her unicorn under her arm. She spread the quilt over the old trunk. It would stay there, not as a forgotten relic, but as the foundation of every story they had yet to write.